I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Music Theory Tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. We're now going to return to the topic of pitch on page 19 of Grade 1 Discovering Music Theory. However, before we do that, it's worth just taking a moment to look at the layout of the piano keyboard. And even if you don't play piano, I do suggest that you get used to visualising this keyboard. In fact, do get used to just sketching your own piano keyboard. And if I just do a very, very rough sketch, it doesn't need to be a work of art, but if you just give yourself a good few notes, an octave or so. You can tell I'm not the artist of the family, can't you? My husband is. So we have 2 black notes miss, 3 black notes miss, 2 black notes miss, and so on. And you could even just sketch out the letter names: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you can see you've got a good number of notes to go at. So I did that super quick. Please perhaps try a little bit neater. You could even use a ruler and get used to sketching this, and then even come exam time, you can just quickly sketch yourself a piano keyboard on your scrap paper, and it really does help taking the guesswork out of looking and visualising notes. So I have a slightly neater version here, although this has had much scribbling on as well. And so I do suggest that you keep a sketch of a piano keyboard to hand, even if you don't play piano, because we're going to be looking at accidentals. Now, accidentals are sharps, flats, and naturals when they're placed next to a note in the music, as opposed to key signatures, which we'll come back to later. And they adjust the pitch of the note just slightly by either raising, lowering, or putting back to the natural note. And so a sharp raises, a flat lowers, but it's no good just saying higher or lower, because how much higher, how much lower, 3 notes, an octave, whatever. And it raises or lowers by a semitone. We'll look more into semitones, but for now it's worth just knowing that it's the very next door note on the piano keyboard, regardless of whether it's white to white, white to black, black to white, or so on, okay? And also, it's worth bearing in mind, and this does scramble your brain a little bit to begin with, so don't worry if it seems a little confusing. You will get the hang of it, and as I always say, it's always better to learn by your mistakes. However, we need to get used to the fact that each of these notes can be called by different names. So if we bear in mind that a sharp raises up half a step to the very next note, and a flat lowers regardless of whether it's to black or white keys, if you think about it, an F sharp could be considered the same sound as G flat, or if you think F flat could be considered the same sound as an E natural. E sharp is the same as an F natural sound, but it's called by a different name. The word for that is enharmonic. Not that you need to remember it, just out of interest really. And it's all to do with the scale structure that it's linked to, which is why we choose either sharps or flats and so on. So it really does help to just visualise. We will look into this more, so don't worry if it seems a little bit hazy at the moment, but just have a general idea of what's going on. And so as we now look into pitch, it will start to clarify the situation as we put it into practice on this exercise coming up. So a sharp raises by half a step or a semitone, a flat lowers by half a step or a semitone, and a natural sign cancels out any previous sharps or flats and puts it back to the normal pitch. And so we will look at this in more detail later, but let's just look at sharps and flats for now. So exercise 1. We have to name each of these notes. So we've looked at pitch up until now, looking at note names in the treble and the bass clef, and you can either peek back to the previous section, pitch part 1, or you can refer to my PDF information sheets on my website just to refresh your memory of the note names of the treble clef and then on the bass clef. So you might want to just have something like this to hand to refresh your memory. And again, it's easier in some class than others depending upon the instrument that you play. So, you know, if you find it a bit tricky than normal, just have something to hand or just revise those little poems to help you name the notes. And so if we start with exercise 1A, this is the treble clef, and we know that the lines are every good boy deserves football. So we know that that's an F placement on the treble clef stave. However, we have a sharp sign here, and so this is F sharp. Now, interestingly, when you're writing the note name, you say F sharp as if you were writing it in words. However, when it's at the music, it goes sharp F, because if you think about it, you need to know the note is sharpened before you play it, because you don't want to play the note and then think, oh, shucks, it should have been sharpened. We need to know it's sharpened before we play the note. So just be aware, in the music, the sharp comes first, but when you're writing it and naming it, it's as if you're writing it in words, F sharp, okay? So then, here we are in the treble clef again, and we know that it's every good boy. So we know that that's a B, and then it's a B flat, and so the flat comes afterwards as we name the note. You could use the sign, or you could write B flat. However, it's a good idea to get used to writing these little symbols. So notice the sharp sign, that's sort of a hashtag. It's tall and thin. And then these diagonals just cross over. And notice the placement of the sharp sign. The box of the sharp sign is exactly the same placement as the blob of the note. And then the flat sign is kind of like a pointy lowercase b. And the natural sign is perhaps a little bit trickier to draw. And if I just quickly look at that, the natural sign is kind of like two slightly oblique L shapes overlapped. If you find that really difficult, it is neater to do it that way. However, I know some people have sort of done a square and done tails either side if you find it difficult, but ideally it should be slightly diagonal, not square. So let's continue. And so now we're in the bass clef, and we know that the poem for the lines of the bass clef is Good Boys Deserve, or Green Buses Drive Fast, and so on. So good boys deserve, that's a D, and then it's a flat, so we put the flat afterwards, D flat. And finally on this line, we know that the spaces of the bass clef are all cows eat grass, and so that's a G, always using capital letters, remember, when you're naming notes. And then it's a sharp, and so we put the sharp sign afterwards. I'd get used to doing the symbols as well, because there's not much room in these boxes to actually write the word. And so now we've had a little peep at this. Perhaps you'd like to complete this final row on your own. Just press pause for a moment, try it yourself, and then pop back into the video and we can check through the answers together. And again, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. This is why we always work in pencil, always work in pencil. And then if something goes a little bit wrong, you can just erase it out and have another go. Always better to learn by your mistakes. So I'm hoping that you've had a go at this final row. So let's check these through together. Now here we're just outside of the poem, as it were, to name the notes. So we've got to find something that we're familiar with. So if we know that the lines are every good boy deserves football, we know that F is the line. So next door to F is G. So that's a top G. And then we know it's a sharp, so it's a G sharp. Now in this one, this is the bass clef. There are two ways we can think about this. We can either just remember that this is middle C, and if you remember, the bass clef is the bottom part. If you visualise the piano keyboard, the bass clef comes up, the treble clef comes down, and imagine that they meet in the middle on middle C, and so it's the top of the bass, the bottom of the treble. Here we are at the top of the bass, that's middle C. However, if you want to, you can also think, well, the lines are good boys deserve football always. That's A. So we're going line, space, line, A, B, C. So we know that that's a C. And then we have a sharp, C sharp. That's middle C sharp. And so now we're in the treble clef. Now we know that the spaces spell face. And so F-A, F-A-C-E, so F-A. And then it's an A flat. So that's the full description of that pitch. Now then back into the bass clef. So we can either think, well, we know that's middle C. And so one step below C is B. Alternatively, we can remember that this is an A. Good boys deserve football always. And one up from A is B. And then this is a B flat. So that's that exercise completed. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee, and for advert-free lessons, you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.